Right, joining me now, someone who will be there front and centre, Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor. Angus Taylor, welcome to Credlin. He says this is the new way forward. This is rebooting, reinventing capitalism. It doesn't seem like a reboot to me. It seems like a revolution. You've worked a lot before in business, before you went into the Parliament. What do you make of it all?
Well, the first point I'd make about it, Peter, and thank you for having me, but the first point I'd make about it is that at a time when Australians want the Treasurer focused on the challenges they're facing, high inflation, rising prices, rising interest rates, he spent the summer writing a manifesto on neoliberalism. And that in itself tells you something of the priorities of this Treasurer and this government. The second point I'd make about it is that it tells you that old-style left-wing Labor is back, and it's back in force. This is about putting the government at the centre of the economy, not Australians, not enterprising, aspirational Australians, but the government. That's Whitlam-esque, as you rightly pointed out. It's not the inheritance of Hawke and Keating, as in the past Chalmers has claimed. It is very much old-style Labor, and it reminds me of something that Ronald Reagan said about the left of politics when he said the 9 most frightening words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." Now, that is how this 6,000-word essay feels, and it tells us a lot about what modern Labor really is.
Look, what concerns me, it's a recipe for bigger government, as you rightly point out, but also for weaker citizens and more handouts and more spending we can't afford. And there's nothing in there about aspiration.
No, this is exactly right. I mean, I always think that the way to think about a vision for Australia, and we're often asked, what's your vision for Australia? Well, my vision for Australia is the vision of every Australian. It's what they want to achieve in their lives that we should be focused on. Instead, what we get from this manifesto is the idea that it's all about government. The government is the solution to every problem. The government should be directing where investment happens. The government should be wrapping the country in more red tape. That government should be deciding where your investments should go. And in fact, we know Jim Chalmers wants to take, and he says in the essay, wants to take your superannuation money and invest it in his pet projects. And that's what he tells us in this essay. So none of these things were things we heard before the election, Peter. And as you've pointed out, we are seeing much from Labor that's very different from the policy promises they made before the election, whether it's in energy, in superannuation, as I've just described. And indeed, we know there's a naked ambition from Chalmers and the Labor Party to raise taxes as well. And I think in the upcoming budget in May, we'll see some of that.
Yeah, on that point, where's the mandate? I mean, Australians, quite rightly, when they hear this sort of stuff, there's a very big structural agenda from Labor. This isn't small change. This isn't a Prime Minister just falling over the line. This all feels like it's been cooked up behind closed doors for some time. We're only now getting it come out in dribs and drabs, but what we're seeing is pretty horrifying. I feel like, you know, people were sold a pup.
Well, I think that's exactly right. And I think that's the point I'd make, not just about this essay, but more broadly on what Labor is saying. I mean, you talked about this being a big spending agenda. And the last budget in October, for the first time since the Charter of Budget Honesty came into place, has dropped any objective of budget balance. So Jim Chalmers has given up on that. And this is all part of his broader agenda. Now, an important point I'd add to what Dennis said earlier about the motives here for Chalmers is in the current Labor Party, to become leader, the branch members, the supporters of the party, the members of the party get to vote. And it's very important to remember they are from the left. So this should be seen very much as a job application for Jim Chalmers to the left of the party to be leader at some point in the future. There is naked ambition in this essay, not just for the policy objectives that I've talked about, but also Jim Chalmers personally.
Angus Taylor, thank you.